Hello, everybody. My name is Jayendra Hanley. This is my friend Ellen Saltonstall, and we're very happy to be able to offer an online course module soon called Therapeutic Applications of Anusara Yoga. It's in conjunction, we're going to put it on in conjunction with the Anusara School. All the information about dates and times and schedules are in the accompanying email. The two of us were part of a small group that created this brilliant manual of the same title. And that was, pretty recent. And that would be the main document, the main book manual for our course. Ellen's going to talk a little bit about the 8 sessions. Ellen?
Okay, hi, everybody. Thank you for that intro, Jayendra. Looking forward to working with you all on the material from the manual in real time. It's going to be exciting. In the manual, we've divided the body into segments, and each segment has a certain structure that I'm going to describe in a minute. And in the course, we'll cover all the sections of the body one at a time. And you can see the list of topics for each of our sessions in the email that accompanies this video. So in the manual, in each section of the body that appears there, it's divided into different segments, and this is what they are. First, we talk about the anatomy of the part of the body. Let's say the part of the body is the neck and the shoulders. We talk about the really important anatomy points, not every single detail. And then we talk about the common therapeutic conditions that students often have and how we as teachers observe their bodies and understand their condition better by observing, which is really important. And then we talk about the key universal principles of alignment and actions that need to be applied to this issue that the student is presenting. And we talk about the contraindications, like, if a person has a disc problem, you don't have them do a forward bend, things like that. And then suggestions about what prop usage would be good. Then we have sort of the heart of the book, which is the toolbox for each segment. Now, a toolbox, and actually Jayendra came up with this term many years ago when we were teaching together. The toolbox is, the collection of therapeutic techniques that I have collected and other people have collected. And in this manual, we had several collaborators and we all contributed. And we talk through those in the manual, and we'll do that in the course as well. So our first session in the course is about the spine and fascia. So we're going to give you a little bit of example of how we talk about it in the practical exercises that we'll show you now. So I want you to think of the most common alignment problem or issue that you see in people in Tadasana, the mountain pose. So just pause for a moment and think about that. And I'm going to show you the one I think is the most common, but you may have a different one. And then I'm going to get up now and go back in my studio so you can see my body. And I'm going to demonstrate that alignment issue and then talk about how we would cue to improve it. So in Tadasana, I'm going to just get the screen a tiny bit more. Looking from the side, one very common pattern is that people push the hips forward, draw the tailbone down quite a bit, and then to counteract what goes forward, we have to go back with something. So the ribs go back, and then the head goes forward. And this is obviously not healthy in the long term. So what do? How do we apply the principles to this? And I'm going to mention some of the loops, which is one of my favorite part of the principles. The loops apply to aligning yourself in this forward and back direction, which is the sagittal plane, it's called in anatomy. So what is going forward, what is going back, and how are we going to cue to bring it all into line? And when we bring it into line, we're doing something we call axial extension, which is lengthening from your feet up to the top of your head. So here's what I would do. I would say, okay, to a student, I would say, bring the tops of your thighs back, which is some of the thigh loop. I'm not talking about all the details of the loops as I go here. And then keeping that, The tailbone lightly comes down and the abdomen lifts, that's the pelvic loop. And then you lift the rib cage, especially in the back part, because that is the part of the ribs that usually they're more compressed and collapsed. Not always, but most often. And then the final one that we need right now for this exercise is the shoulder loop, which lifts the front chest, brings the shoulder blades into the back body, and provides the right support for your head. So you don't really have to talk about the head if all the other loops were successful. So that's one example of Tadasana being applied, the principles being applied to Tadasana to bring a person into a better alignment. Okay, and now Jayendra is going to do a little example with dog pose.
Yeah, so we're talking about the spine, talking about the curves. And as Ellen and I were planning this particular presentation, I immediately thought of dog pose. It's a fascinating pose to me. And my own history is, as a teacher of yoga, is that it took me a while to recognize the importance of the forward tilt of the pelvis and the inward curve in the lower back in dog pose. So then I started teaching to, and you all do this too, I'm sure, to bend the knees, apply our lower body actions to create that forward tilt and the inward curve in the lower back. Then I started to notice that some of my students collapse the arms and the heart area in this pose. So, I tried different things. It took a while. And what I realized at some point is I could apply our concept of the seesaw principle here. So if the hands are over here, the heart's here, the lower back here, in order to get the lower back to come in, maybe it would help to lift the thoracic and the arms away from the floor. So to do this so that I can draw that in. So then the way that I teach it now so often is with the knees bent to say, press the fingers down, then draw energy up from the hands to the heart. Now lift the tops of the arms. And I also lift the sternum and breathe into the upper back. So it's one thing I've realized is I'm not a big fan of melt the heart in this pose anymore. Now, if somebody has a rounded thoracic, yes, try to soften there between the shoulder blades. But instead, it's what I teach so often is pressing the fingers, lift the arms, also lift the heart area, and then apply the actions to the lower body, which will include then lengthening up through the legs. And then we're ready for organic extension. From the heart, extend to the hands, stretch back, and finally down through the heels, keeping the inward curve in the lower back. And of course, breathe. So what's about, and a topic that will be a big part of the course is creating a new pattern. I've used to have an old pattern of rounding the lumbar in a pose like this. So creating a new pattern is part of the manual, something we'll be focusing on during the course. Back to Ellen.
So a pose like this brings us into the awareness of how the whole body's connected. Jayendra was talking about changing the thoracic spine in order to help what the pelvis and the lumbar spine want to do. And as many of you probably know, there's an interesting development in the world of yoga, physical therapy, sports rehab, and other movement disciplines, and that's the study of fascia. So fascia is the connective tissue that forms a web throughout the body. It wraps around every organ, every bone, every muscle. And it has different textures in different parts of the body. It has different functions, including protection, support, and movement, tracking of the movement through the body, force transmission. And It's fascinating. So we'll talk about that in the first session of the course. And it's mapped out by researchers in different patterns, and many of you may know about this. So the one that was demonstrated as Jayendra was doing down face dog is the pattern of the fascial connection that goes actually from your forehead back over the top of your head, down the back of your body, all the way to your heels, but then it doesn't stop there. It goes all the way under the sole of your foot to your toes. And this is called the superficial back line. So if we have an understanding of these fascial patterns, when we're looking at someone's body, it can really help us figure out where maybe more strength is needed, where more flexibility is needed, and help the people, understand their body as a whole, even as they're adjusting specific parts of the body. So anything you want to add to that, Jayendra?
Well, this is just an overview of the first session. There's going to be 8 of them, and we'll be doing a few other short videos like this that are examples of some of the other sessions too.
Great. Okay, so we hope we're going to love this course. We are so excited to be exploring this topic in this format, and we really look forward to sharing it with you. So you can register for the course when it comes up on the website, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.